Drink. Karakura Daiichi High School members of the Kendo Club are practicing swinging their swords. There were layers of fine beads of sweat on everyone's foreheads, but even so, their voices were still high-pitched every time they swung their knives. At the same time, rest area next to the dojo. Swordsmanship +1? Not bad, I hope I can lose another attribute today. A boy looked at the members of the club who were seriously practicing swinging knives, and a bit of satisfaction suddenly appeared on his face. Because, in his line of sight, a group of light spots suddenly fell from the body of a member, and the words, sword skill +1, could be vaguely seen in the falling light group. The boy named Natsuki is a time traveler. A month ago, I accidentally fell asleep while reading the manga of the Shinigami Millennium Blood War chapter. When I woke up, I came to this world. Unlike most soul wearers, Natsuki is a body time traveler, and has activated a system that can pick up attributes. As an activation reward, Natsuki also received a certificate of identity as a student at Karakura Daiichi High School. The system is very simple, its name is Picking Attribute System. You can make yourself stronger by picking up attributes dropped by others. Besides, there is also a list of attributes showing Natsuki's current strength or weakness. Maybe there are some hidden functions in the system that he didn't discover, but the two functions shown so far are indeed a bit crude, but they are enough for Natsuki. After all, the meaning of cheating is to make people stronger, and the attribute picking system this goal has clearly been accomplished. Natsuki held up his hand a little empty. The attribute light group dropped from the member's body automatically flew over and merged into his body. Suddenly, a line of translucent characters appeared in front of my eyes. Open black lens bracket swordsmanship LV4, 18/20ths, +1 right pointing arrow swordsmanship LV4, 19/20ths, close black lens bracket. Look at the translucent font in front of you. And the level of swordsmanship that can be raised to LV5 by only 1 point. Natsuki looked forward to it, and said silently in his heart. System, query the current attribute value. Natsuki. Open black lens bracket sex. Male, race, human, basic attributes, strength 27, speed 30, body 25, wisdom 20. Skill 1 swordsmanship LV.4, 19/20ths, skill effect. The attack power of sword weapons is increased by 40%, and the sword skills are slightly improved. The property panel is as simple as the system's capabilities. But compared to a month ago when each attribute was in single digits and the skill list was bare, Natsuki said that he is very satisfied now. The system not only drops skill light clusters. The attribute light clusters that can strengthen the physical attributes also drops them from time to time. At this time, seeing the swordsmanship that was just a little bit close to being promoted to LV.5, Natsuki couldn't help shouting at the club members practicing sword swing in the center of the dojo. Everyone is great, but this level is not enough, add another 100 times to the number of swings. Yes, Minister. The members of the club were obviously used to the sudden extra training from time to time, and responded loudly together. Pity, Natsuki seems to be having bad luck today. The practice of the members continued until the end of the department work. There was no flickering skill light group bursting out again, but a physical strength +1 attribute light group burst out, raising the physical strength attribute to 26 points. Looking at the sword skill that is still LV.4, 19/20ths, in the attribute panel. Natsuki shook his head, but he was not overly disappointed. Judging from the frequency of skill light clusters dropped by the Kendo Club, it would only take a day or two for them to drop again. Converge your own emotions. Among all the members, you have worked hard. Natsuki left the Kendo Club. Night falls on the streets of Karakura town. Natsuki walked towards the apartment with the convenience bag in hand. It's just that when he saw the soul that didn't hide his existence by the side of the street, his thoughts also went astray. It's been a month. From being unable to see anything to now being able to clearly see the soul, my spiritual power should have improved a lot. I hope that the spiritual power can be improved before the plot starts, so that we can pick up and touch property, fish, sex. Natsuki couldn't help squinting his eyes. But at this moment, the system prompt sounded suddenly. Ding! A battle has been detected in the distance. There is a very high probability of dropping high-level attribute lights. Please host to consider whether to go to the battle scene. At the same time, a map comes to mind, shows the location where Natsuki fought with that. Listening to the system prompt, Natsuki was taken aback for a moment, and then his eyes flashed with joy, a high probability of dropping a high-level attribute light group. Travel through a month. This is the first time I have heard information about advanced attribute light groups. This surprised Natsuki, but also made him curious about the difference between this high-level attribute light group and the previously obtained attribute light group. Think here. Natsuki's eyes became firm. Done. System, zoom in on the location of the battle. Spiritually, namely, there is a singularity of spirituality in this world. Karakura town is full of spiritual power, and the quality and quantity of souls far exceed those of other regions, which fully conforms to the characteristics of heavy spirit land. This makes the area especially popular with hunters. As night falls, almost no one is walking on the streets of Karakura town, only the neon lights on the side of the road are still shining. And at this moment, the monster is coming again. A soul is hiding in a dilapidated alley. His horrified eyes looked at a position tens of meters away. Over there was a nearly 3-meter-high monster that looked like a praying mantis, as if it was looking for something. Roar. As time goes by, the monster did not find the desired prey. As if he had completely lost his patience, he began to violently destroy everything around him. Witnessing everything, the whole body of the soul trembled in fear, and tightly covered its mouth with both hands, for fear of making a sound. Fortunately, after venting his anger, the monster slowly turned and left. Watching the praying mantis monster fading away. Only then did the soul dare to let go of its hands, panting heavily. But when he thought of the images of those monsters that would devour his soul just like him, plus the stimulation of getting out of the crisis of death, he couldn't help cursing loudly. Damn it! What kind of monster is this? I can't make money in life, and I have to worry about being swallowed by monsters after death. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! However, he didn't notice it at all. At some point, the surrounding air pressure began to drop. It was as if a powerful force was approaching him little by little. At the same time, the scarlet pupils behind the white bone mask looked alluring and cold in the dark night. Damn Kenjiro, if it wasn't for you, how could I die? Before the soul realized the crisis, it began to curse the real culprit who caused its death. Suddenly, a drop of liquid dripped from the air. Accurately landed on the forehead of this soul. This is. The soul looked up blankly, its pupils widened, and it saw a pair of scarlet eyes staring at itself. Next moment, this soul didn't even have time to react. The huge right claw of the monster had already struck, grabbing one of them suddenly, and then, he found himself slowly rising into the air. No, don't eat me, caught in midair, the soul screamed in terror. His hands subconsciously wanted to open the claws that were clenched tightly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break them apart. He could only widen his eyes in horror. He watched himself helplessly, and sent it to the monster's mouth bit by bit. At the same time, a quaint door slowly opened in the air. The purple-black hell butterfly flew out first, flying recklessly in the sky of Karakura town. Then, with a petite foot stepping out of the door, the girl in the domineering outfit walked out slowly and stood directly in midair. This is reality? Looking at the completely different scenery from Soul Society. There was a trace of curiosity on the girl's face, but the next moment, the curiosity disappeared instantly, and she suddenly turned her head to look into the distance, frowning tightly. Virtual breath. But where is it? Unexpected. Clearly aware of the empty breath. But it seems that the perception has been blocked by someone, and it is impossible to detect the specific position of Shu. In a hurry, she could only stand in midair and search for the trace of the ghost she just sensed with her naked eyes. However, as she searches with her naked eyes, not far from her, a desperate begging for mercy suddenly sounded. Don't eat me, don't eat me, hear this desperate voice. The girl in the deadly costume, no, Shinigami Rukia, suddenly looked down. The deep purple eyes suddenly shrank at this moment. Before he had time to think, he stepped on the spot and rushed towards the ground quickly. Dilapidated alley, a pool of blood spilled on the ground. The soul was lying on the ground, and the left half of the body had disappeared. From the jagged teeth marks on the wound of the remnant body, it was not difficult to guess its whereabouts, but even so, he was still struggling to crawl out. Don't eat me. I want to live, I don't want to die again. Pain from being bitten on the left side of the body. Constantly stimulating the nerves of this soul. But he wanted to live more than being eaten by monsters. Even though he knew that there was little hope of surviving, the neon light outside the alley seemed to give him hope of surviving. Ignore the pain in your body. With the remaining right arm and legs, move outward little by little. But he didn't know how childish his actions were in the eyes of the monster behind him. A good hunter will let his prey go. What? How is this possible? The playful eyes condensed in the monster's eyes. Under the bone mask, there was a distorted face hidden. That's right, that's it, climb up, try to climb out. A sharp laugh came from behind. This soul almost completely lost its mind, only the thought of escape from this alley remained in its mind. Rubbing and moving forward, blood kept gushing out from the mutilated body, dragging a long bloody trail on the ground. But, when he crawled out of the alley, looking at the bright street in front of him, he couldn't help but see joy in his eyes. The right hand full of scars tremblingly stretched out into the air, as if grasping freedom, tears could not stop falling from both sides of the cheeks, and murmured in disbelief. I survived? Of course it's impossible, human. A joking voice sounded behind him, shattering the fantasy in the soul's mind, as if realizing something, he raised his head in horror. No, don't. The scarlet eyes were particularly alluring in the alley. It turned out that the monster had been following behind him. Pooh. This time the monster showed no mercy. It's tired of playing with its prey, and next, it's dinner time. The sharp claws slowly grabbed the soul on the ground. Ignoring his pleading and resistance, the monster opened its mouth wide, click, click. Hateful. A voice of resentment suddenly sounded. It turned out that it was Rukia who fell from the sky and caught this scene just in time. The sharp teeth stained with flesh and blood continued to open and close, and blood continued to overflow from the corners of the mouth, slowly dripping down the chin to the ground. Under the night, the mantis monster, no, it should be the mantis virtual. As he chewed the soul in his mouth, his spiritual power gradually increased a little, which made him narrow his eyes comfortably. But at this moment, a sound of gnashing of teeth suddenly sounded. I didn't expect to meet this kind of dregs on the first day of my life, Hado 33 Kenghoji. Hearing the cold voice from behind, Mantis Shu was stunned for a moment, then realized something, and dodged to the side subconsciously. But facing Rukia's long-prepared Kenghuo pendant with a very wide attack range, Mantis Shu couldn't completely dodge it. Several thunderous flames attacked the mantis. Unerringly hit the void of the mantis, inflicting ultimate pain on it. What? Damn, Shinigami, bastard Shinigami. In panic, Mantis Shu only had time to put his arms in front of his body. But even so, when the smoke cleared, Mantis Shu's body was still covered with scars. Cut. There is no need to kill. Rukia's face became slightly dignified. With her strength, Kido on the 33rd is enough to kill most of the low-level ghosts even under the condition of being restricted by the seal. But the one in front of me is empty. The front suffered the damage from the Kenghuo fall. But his body is covered with scars, his strength should not be underestimated. With a dignified expression, Rukia refocused on the Mantis Shu, ready to attack with a higher-level Kido. But at this moment, seeing this picture, the mantis is empty. Opening his mouth suddenly, he screamed loudly before Rukia had time to react. Howling, this scream, like real ultrasound. In an instant, it spanned a distance of several meters and hit Rukia's eardrums. Well, ears. Rukia's movements stopped abruptly, and she covered her ears in pain. Next moment, the praying mantis takes a few steps. Quickly came to Rukia's body, and slapped directly. Damn it. Rukia tried to fight back, but it was no match for Tenglang Shu who attacked first, and was slapped flying with a palm. Boom. Body against the wall, a cobweb-shaped crack suddenly appeared on the wall. Damn it, poof. Rukia tried to get up, but just as she moved, her mouth burst into fishy sweetness, and blood kept spilling from the corner of her mouth. The body fell weakly to the ground again. One blow, just one blow, Mantis Shu severely injured Rukia. Even, the degree of injury far exceeds the original. Mantis looked at Rukia who fell to the ground and vomited blood. Ignoring the injuries on his body, he went directly to Rukia and laughed wantonly. PFF ha ha ha. Today my luck is amazing. Eating you will not only restore my injuries, but also make me stronger. Ahem. Feeling the undisguised malice of Mantis Shu, Rukia struggled to fight back, but as soon as she moved, a strong pain came from the left side of her chest, making her face turn pale. But she knows if you don't do anything, just sit and wait. I was afraid that I would really want to become its food, as Mantis Shu said. Thinking of this, Rukia endured the pain, and quietly touched Zanpakuto at his waist. However, her movements are small, but he did not escape the glasses of Mantis Shu. Hee. Do you really think I can't see anything? Mantis Shu sneered, and suddenly stretched out his hand to hold Rukia. This moment, Rukia's height of 1.44 meters. Against the nearly 3-meter height of Mantis Shu, it looks petite and helpless like a simulated doll. Yes, damn it. Intent to be discovered. Rukia closed her eyes feebly. This time she was careless, she didn't expect Tanglangshu to use sonic attack. It was this mistake that caused him to be unable to respond to the enemy's attack in time, causing him to fall into such a situation. If you use Shikai from the beginning, even if the consumption of spiritual power is quite large, it will definitely not be the current situation, right? Pity. It's just if. The moment she didn't dodge the attack of Mantis Shu. The matter seems to have become a foregone conclusion, and no one can change it, even. Her real strength is many times stronger than now. Quack quack. Looking at this beautiful scene, Mantis Shu couldn't help laughing happily. What could be more satisfying than having a Shinigami all to yourself? In a happy mood, Mantis Shu half bent down, looked at Rukia with a hey smile, and opened his mouth cruelly and meaningfully. Rest assured, I won't eat you for nothing. You will become the nourishment that makes me grow and make me stronger. In return, I will capture more and stronger Shinigami to eat, and let them accompany you by the way, ha 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 ha. Rukia opened her eyes sharply. Those deep purple pupils were filled with anger. But, no matter how angry she is useless now. But a figure appeared in her mind, that was her elder brother and also the patriarch of the Kuchiki family. Sorry, I've dishonored the name of the Kuchiki family. Thinking of that cold man, Rukia closed her eyes and silently welcomed death. Shoo, shoo. However, just as the praying mantis opened its mouth wide open, just as he was about to swallow Rukia, there was a sound of breaking through the air. This is. Hearing the voice, Mantis looked up vigilantly. I only saw a spherical object attacking me, and when I saw it, it subconsciously smashed it with the other paw. Came at the same time. There is also a cold voice. Choose to give up now, isn't it too early? Who is it? Rukia Kuchiki opened her eyes suspiciously, but the moment she opened her eyes, she noticed that the mantis held her claws loose for a moment. Good chance. She realizes this is an opportunity to fight back. Gritting his teeth, ignoring the pain coming from his body, he broke free from the shackles of Mantis Shu, landed on the ground again, and at the same time pulled out the Zanpakuto from his waist, and said coldly. Ling dance, Soda no Shirayuki. The moment the sound is heard, Zanpakuto begins to change. The blade, guard, and handle are all pure white. The blade is oval in shape with 6 hollows. There are patterns on the front of the handle and a white ribbon at the end. It can be said, this Zanpakuto is extremely beautiful. But under that beautiful appearance, there is a cold murderous intent. Damn it, is this Zanpakuto? Mantis was not stupid, and naturally recognized the weapon in Rukia's hand. My heart suddenly tightened. An instinctive feeling urged it to stay away from the Shinigami in front of it. This feeling has saved Tanglangshu many times in battle, so, without the slightest hesitation, he followed his instinct and retreated. But alas, after all, it was one step behind Rukia. When it was about to flee, Rukia had already attacked first. First dance moon white. A huge ice circle emerged on the ground. Thick frost spread from the ground to Mantis Shu. Damn it. Before it had time to think, it jumped and accelerated to escape from the spot. Rumble. Accompanied by a huge momentum. An icicle rose directly into the sky, as if connected with the sky and the earth. But surprisingly, because of Mantis Shu's instinctive reaction, the icicle only froze one of its arms, and then it turned into ice crystals and dissipated in the air. Damn, because of the pain, the reaction was a bit slower. Seeing this scene, Rukia couldn't help but look desperate. In her plan, she planned to kill this praying mantis in one move. Of course, if there is another shot, Rukia is confident that she can kill Mantis Shu, but the problem is that her Ryatsu and physical strength have both reached their limits. Shikai was forced to lift. Soda no Shirayuki has been restored to its original form. At the same time, the price of the previous forceful attack came slowly, and blood gushed from Rukia's throat again. Damn, you actually ruined one of my arms. Mantis appeared in front of Rukia again with a flicker, and kicked hard. All of a sudden, Rukia out of strength, like a piece of rag, it flew backward several meters, hitting the wall covered with cobweb traces again. Cough. The moment it hit the wall, Rukia couldn't help but let out a scream, and blood gushed out of his mouth like a column. Watching Rukia's misery, Mantis vented his anger modestly, then turned to look at the entrance of the alley. It didn't forget that the reason why it allowed Rukia to seize the opportunity was entirely because of the sudden attack just now at the entrance of the alley. People, humans? Mantis' expression suddenly froze. I saw a young man standing at the entrance of the alley, and the two looked at each other. But there was no slight fluctuation in the boy's eyes, as if what he was looking at was just a dead thing. This scene was filled with a strange sense of oppression, which made Tang Mantis a little confused. Isn't this just an ordinary human being? Why do you feel this way? Kia. Boy standing in the alley. It was Natsuki who came here to pick up the high-level attribute group. He at this time seeing Rukia lying on the ground bleeding, a trace of doubt appeared on his face. He doesn't understand. Rukia is the heroine in the original work. How on earth did he lose to such a miscellaneous fish? That's right, it was a miscellaneous fish. Under Natsuki's perception, this virtual Ryotsu is only half of his own, no, not even half. But Natsuki was only curious for a moment. Then he looked at the attribute light group beside Tanglangshu. Different from the milky white of ordinary attribute light clusters, the color of this attribute light cluster is azure blue. This is the first time Natsuki has seen attribute light clusters of this color. Is this the advanced attribute light group? In Natsuki's perspective, the word drain can be vaguely seen in this attribute light group. This made Natsuki a little itchy, and immediately chose to absorb it through the air, only to see the high-level attribute light group automatically flying from a distance and blending into his body. Suddenly, the system beep sounded again. Open black lens bracket ding. Close black lens bracket. It is detected that the host picks up the special skill, drain, and the skill will be displayed in the skill list. The moment the sound fell, a berserk Ryotsu appeared inside Natsuki. Start to strengthen yourself, and at the same time, a new skill appears in the skill list. Natsuki, open black lens bracket sex, male, race, human. Basic attributes, strength 27, speed 30, body 26, wisdom 20. Skill 1. Swordsmanship LV.4, 19/20, skill effect. The attack power of sword weapons is increased by 40%, and the sword skills are slightly improved. Skill 2. Absorb LV.1, 0/5, skill effect 1. When attacking the target, it will absorb part of the opponent's spiritual power. Skill effect 2. After killing the target, you will permanently gain part of the opponent's spiritual power. Note: the absorption effect increases with the skill level. Natsuki slowly opened his eyes. Looking at the extra skills in the system panel, the corners of his mouth lightly twitched. As expected of a high-level attribute light group, the effect is so magical. With this skill, it will be difficult not to become stronger. After all, he looked at the praying mantis. Gaining new skills, he just needs a test subject, but before that. Boom! Natsuki disappeared from the spot. But then the voice rang out, "Is this Zanpakuto? Google. What? When?" Hearing the voice behind him, Mantis froze and turned around to look blankly. I saw Natsuki standing behind him at some point, leaning over to pick up Soda no Shirayuki. After familiarizing himself with its weight, he squatted down halfway, and slowly retracted the knife and held it in his waist. Next moment, there was a flash of light in the dark night. Pooh! A line of blood appeared on the neck of the mantis. At the same time, a huge head fell from the sky and rolled a few meters on the ground before slowly stopping. Tisk, is this killing Shu? It doesn't seem to be difficult. Natsuki looked at the corpse of Mantis Shu, who had been supporting for a while before falling to the ground with a surprised expression. Shocked. Rukia was completely dumbfounded. In any case, she never thought that Shu, who caused her to overturn, would be solved so easily. It wasn't even Shinigami who solved the opponent. Looking at his appearance and his aura, is he just an ordinary human who strayed into this place? You, who are you? Why can you see us? Rukia, who was full of doubts, asks. In her impression, humans cannot see Hollow and Shinigami. The boy in front of her is clearly a human being, but now she not only saw her, but also used her own Zanpakuto to kill Tanglangshu with one knife, which really made her unable to understand. The other side, Natsuki was silent at the system beep. After he killed Tanglangshu, the system's notification sounded. Open black lens bracket ding. Close black lens bracket, kill the target Enko Buller, close black lens bracket. Use the draw and skill to permanently gain part of the target's spiritual power, close black lens bracket. Suddenly, Natsuki's spiritual power increased slightly. Not much, Probably only 1 to 5% of his own spiritual power, but it is enough to satisfy Natsuki. And now hear Rukia's inquiry. Natsuki now had time to look at Rukia's appearance. Petite figure, familiar onion head, wearing a black deadly costume, it is no different from the anime. The only thing to say is what's different, it can only be that Rukia in the anime has never shown such a serious injury. The blood flowing out from the corner of the mouth almost soaked the Shiba outfit, and the left arm was slightly twisted, which was obviously the injury caused when Mantis Shu held the palm forcefully. But this is also understandable. Anime is anime after all, scenes that are too bloody cannot be broadcast. Me? I'm just an ordinary person. While looking at it, Natsuki answered casually. Ordinary people? Impossible. Rukia felt like she was being played. Ordinary people can see Shinigami and Hollow? Ordinary people can kill Shendu's intractable Shu with one blow? Well, if you think it's impossible, then it's impossible. Natsuki waved his hands, then squatted down, looked at Rukia and asked curiously. I've already said my identity, so it's your turn. Heard that. Rukia froze. Feeling the weakness that I have never had before, I fell into deep thought. It's fine if you don't want to talk about it, I don't really want to know. Seeing Rukia's silence, Natsuki thought she felt too embarrassed and didn't want to reveal her identity, so she waved her hand indifferently. He himself knew Rukia's identity. The unnecessary inquiry now is just a little more reasonable. However, looking at Natsuki who doesn't care. Instead, Rukia made up her mind and said seriously. Actually, my real identity is Shinigami. Its duty is to kill the monster just now to complete the purification, return the soul to the Soul Society, and bring the cycle of the soul back on track. At the same time, Rukia struggled to get up. Ignoring the pain coming from his body, he bowed and begged. I am currently seriously injured and unable to complete the task of purifying the void, so I hope you will help me to a certain extent during the period before my injury recovers. Help? Natsuki raised an eyebrow. He thought that Rukia was going to pass on the power of Shinigami to himself. But he didn't expect to use his own help to complete the purification task, which was a wrong guess. But think about it too. Now it's not as urgent as in the anime. There is absolutely no need for Rukia to pass on the power of Shinigami to humans. After all, in the Soul Society, it is a felony to transfer the power of Shinigami to humans without authorization, and Rukia would probably not do so unless she had to. While Natsuki was meditating, Rukia at the side suddenly spoke again. As a reward, I will teach you how to use the spiritual power in your body during this time. Hearing this sentence, Natsuki thought it was a pleasant surprise. After obtaining the absorption skill, Shaxu can gain spiritual power permanently. In order to become stronger, he must kill Shu a lot to gain spiritual power. In this situation, it is completely convenient to help Rukia. Okay, as long as you can teach me seriously, Natsuki immediately agreed. Rukia heard Natsuki agree. Finally, he let out a long breath, and the mission can continue. Thinking like this, the corner of Rukia's mouth curled up, and she introduced herself. Rukia Kuchiki, my name is Rukia Kuchiki, please give me your advice for the time to come. Look at Rukia's outstretched right hand. Natsuki didn't think much, shook hands and introduced, Natsuki, please give me your advice. But what he didn't expect was that the moment the two shook hands, they inexplicably fulfilled the activation condition of the skill, Drain. Open black lens bracket ding. Close black lens bracket open black lens bracket attack on Rukia Kuchiki. Close black lens bracket. Use the drawn skill to get part of the target's spiritual power. Close black lens bracket. What? Natsumi's expression froze, a force came through the two hands. At the same time, the spiritual power surged on his body, and the Death Tyrant outfit was directly put on over the original clothes. Rukia flashed white light. The deadly outfit on his body directly turned into a set of white bathrobes. No, it's impossible, my spiritual power was taken away. Rukia was dumbfounded. What the hell? Why was all the remaining spiritual power in her body taken away? Momentary excitement. Serious injuries aggravated again. Just glanced twice, and passed out directly in Natsuki's arms. Hey, Rukia, don't get dizzy, where am I going to find someone to heal you? Now it's Natsuki's turn to be dumbfounded. Speaking of treatment, he can do it by tying a bandage and disinfecting it. But with Rukia's current injury, it's obviously not something that can be treated with a bandage. Suddenly, a voice suddenly sounded. Natsuki turned around to look, but his pupils shrank slightly. Brother, it looks like you need some help. A tall figure wearing a green Baixiong hat stood at the entrance of the alley at some point, with a meaningful smile on the corner of his mouth. It's hot, please be careful. Tessai Tsukabishi put a cup of tea in front of Natsuki as a reminder. Thank you. After Natsuki thanked him, he took the tea with both hands and did not drink it directly. Instead, he carefully observed the layout of the Yurihara store. How to say? Looks a bit disappointing. After all, Yurihara Kazuki was marked by Yuhabak as one of the 5 special forces. But his shop is very ordinary, a simple 2-story Japanese-style building. The layout is in the style of decades ago, and there are not many products. If not, its main source of customers is Shinigami. Such a store may not be able to survive in the fast-growing Karakura town. Ahem, Yurihara Kazuki came over. Rubbing his hands together, he looked like a profiteer. Miss Kuchiki's injury has been treated by Xiao. Just wait a moment, but you see we are also a small business, you see the cost. Don't worry, when Rukia wakes up, I will explain it to her. It's not that he was injured and needed treatment, so Natsuki directly pushed the treatment cost to Rukia. Ahaha, that's exactly what I said. Yurihara Kazuki was slightly taken aback. I thought the boy would take over the medical bills. But he didn't expect it to be pushed directly on Rukia, which surprised him a bit. But the medical expenses are just to bring up the topic. Yurihara Kazuki smiled, and then said with emotion. However, brother, you are really powerful. You actually killed a monster that even Ms. Kuchiki couldn't beat with a single blow. Sure enough, a hero is a boy. But the next moment, the emotion on his face disappeared little by little. With a bang, Yurihara Kazuki opened the small folding fan to cover his chin, and said softly. It's just somewhat curious, brother, how did you take away Miss Kuchiki's spiritual power? The voice fell, the atmosphere of the whole store suddenly became a little low. Even Tessai Tsukabishi, who was standing quietly aside, appeared behind Natsuki at some point. Oh? Take it away? Feeling the suddenly low atmosphere. Instead, Natsuki chuckled and at the same time held out his hand, motioning for Yurihara Kazuki to take it. Since you're curious, why don't you come and have a try, the so-called take-away in your mouth? The store manager, Tessai Tsukabishi, reminded in a muffled voice. Well, it's nothing. Yurihara Kazuki waved his hand, and at the same time showed a curious look on his face. Is it enough to just shake hands? That's right, Natsuki nodded indifferently. Based on what I know about Yurihara Kazuki, this guy will definitely have doubts, but he has many ways to save his life. Faced with such an opportunity, he will not let it go. That would be fun. Yurihara Kazuki held out his hand thoughtfully. He really doubted Natsuki. A human being can not only kill Shu, but also take away the spiritual power of a Shinigami. Everyone would doubt it. But Natsuki doesn't care about the appearance. But it made the suspicion in Yurihara Kazuki's heart lessened a bit. Of course, if there is really a problem, he is confident that with his own strength, it will not be difficult to win the opponent. Thinking is only for a moment. The moment the two shook hands, Yurihara Kazuki's pupils shrank suddenly. At this moment, he noticed that the spiritual power in his body was beginning to drain. Although it was not much, it was exceptionally stable. Clearly prepare yourself, but never expected that the spiritual power was really taken away. Of course, if it was just like this, Yurihara Kazuki wouldn't be able to show this appearance. What made his pupils shrink suddenly was the spiritual power can still be restored, am I right? Seeing Yurihara Kazuki's appearance, Natsuki spoke suddenly. Drain. There are 2 skill effects. 1. Attacking the target will gain part of the opponent's spiritual power. 2. Killing the target will permanently gain part of the opponent's spiritual power. 1 attack, 1 kill. The effects of the 2 are of course very different. But it is precisely because of this that Natsuki has sufficient confidence at this time. He didn't kill Rukia or Yurihara Kazuki, and of course he didn't permanently gain some spiritual power from either of them. This also means, the spiritual power of the 2 has not disappeared and can be restored. Spiritual power can indeed be restored. Yurihara Kazuki became even more curious. That's right, about a month ago, I can gradually see the souls wandering in the streets. Natsuki said half of the words, and let them make up the rest. But Natsuki wasn't lying either. Being able to see the soul really started a month ago. It's only been a month ago that I've gradually been able to see the soul. Is it the awakening of a high psionic person? Is it his talent to absorb spiritual energy? Listen to Natsuki's reminder. Yurihara Kazuki thought of a guess. After being in this world for so many years, he naturally knows that human beings also have various abilities. Even Jinda and Xiaoyu in the store are similar, but they don't have the powerful talent of the boy in front of them. Thinking like this, Yurihara Kazuki subdued her suspicions slightly. He closed the small folding fan, patted Natsuki on the shoulder, and said in a humorous tone. Well, don't worry, the ability to suddenly awaken or something, although rare, but not without it. With a change in attitude, the atmosphere of the whole room also returned to the previous one. Tessai Tsukabishi knelt down next to Natsuki again, and said respectfully. Sorry, this cup of tea is a little cold, do I need another cup for you? The voice fell, the sliding door on the side suddenly opened. A little girl walked out of it, and said in a sticky voice. The store manager, the medicine and bandages have been changed. Master Kuchiki has also woken up, she will come out later. Thanks for your hard work, Xiaoyu, go to bed quickly, or be careful not to grow taller. Yurihara Kazuki thanked and dismissed Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu nodded silently. Without asking any further questions, he went straight back to his room to sleep. Not long after, Rukia Kuchiki also came out of the room. The previous white yukata had disappeared, and the Seba outfit was put on again. Only, her expression was a little strange. Especially looking at the deadly costume on Natsuki, it took a long time to say. Natsuki, I heard all of your conversations just now, and my lost spiritual power has been restored, but what's the situation with the deadly costume on your body? Doubt, puzzled, two emotions flooded Rukia's mind. Natsuki, I heard all of your conversations just now, and my lost spiritual power has been restored, but what's the situation with the deadly costume on your body? Previously Natsuki was wearing the Death Fighter outfit. If it was caused by taking away her spiritual power, she could still understand. But now that his spiritual power has obviously recovered, why is Natsuki still wearing the Shinigami outfit? It's really weird, Miss Kuchiki's ability is clearly not depleted. The moment Yurihara Kazuki saw Rukia wearing the Death Fighter outfit, he noticed something strange. Although due to time, Rukia's spiritual power has not been fully recovered, but her Shinigami's ability has not been lost at all. Then came the strange point. Since Rukia Shinigami's abilities were not taken away, how did Natsuki get Shinigami's abilities from Rukia? Take away? Yurihara Kazuki frowned slightly. No, after my own personal contact just now. The spiritual power in the body has not disappeared permanently, so it is not taken away, so it should be. Absorption. Yurihara Kazuki couldn't help but said, your ability is absorption, you can absorb the spiritual power of others. But the next moment, thinking of the doubts just now, he continued. No, not only ordinary absorption, but also fusion, analysis and other functions. Hear this, Rukia Kuchiki looked at Natsuki suspiciously. Natsuki folded his arms around his chest, surprise flashing in his eyes. Miss Kuchiki's Shinigami ability has not disappeared, and she also shows that the spiritual power that was just taken away has been restored, which means she has no loss at all. Yurihara Kazuki reopened the fan. Subconsciously covering his chin with it, he opened his mouth meaningfully. But brother, you have the power of Shinigami at this time. It all started because you absorbed Miss Kuchiki's spiritual power earlier, right, brother Natsuki? Natsuki nodded, and explained without hesitation. Yes, the current situation is indeed caused by accidentally absorbing Rukia's spiritual power. So, we might as well make a bold guess. Yurihara Kazuki moved away the folding fan, raised a corner of his mouth, and said confidently. While absorbing the spiritual power of Ms. Kuchiki, you also analyzed the power of Shinigami and successfully integrated it with yourself. I'm not wrong, brother Natsuki? Slap, 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 Natsuki couldn't help clapping. As expected of a genius who developed Hogyoku, he guessed everything in just a few words. Certainly, this is called analysis and fusion. It was completely done by the system spontaneously after Drain was triggered. Natsuki won't mention the system, just make it up and push it onto himself. That's right, after accidentally absorbing Rukia's spiritual power, a more pure power was analyzed in this Ryotsu. Maybe it's an instinctive reaction. The spiritual power in my body has been transformed into this pure power. If I'm not mistaken, this pure power is the so-called power of Shinigami. Half the words, Natsuki looked at Yurihara Kazuki and smiled. The spiritual power in my body was only converted by 10% before. But it's all right now, with the help of Mr. Yurihara, it has been successfully converted to a level of 50%. Help from the store manager? Rukia Kuchiki looked at Yurihara Kazuki puzzled. Some don't understand what the store manager did to increase Natsuki's spiritual power conversion from 10% to 50%. Yeah, young people nowadays are so outstanding, they get caught by accident. Yurihara Kazuki lowered the brim of his hat, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He has been calculating others for so many years. I never thought, but today I stumbled on a teenage young man. TCH, don't tell me if you don't say it, I don't want to know. Seeing that both of them didn't intend to explain, Rukia looked at Yurihara Kazuki angrily. I need a prosthetic skeleton suitable for recuperation, and another prosthetic soul pill. Pay the bill first, and pay the bill together when I return to Soul Society. Of course, no problem, please wait a moment. Yurihara Kazuki heard that. I understand that Rukia is ending the topic. Then he showed the appearance of a profiteer, and arranged with a sly smile. Don't worry, I will definitely give you the most high-end products. After all, Tessai Tsukabishi walked into the warehouse consciously. It didn't take long to bring out everything Rukia needed. The quality is very good, and I will continue to look for you next time if I need it. Rukia checked and confirmed that it can meet her needs. After leaving a word, she pulled Natsuki and left the Yurihara store. Welcome to visit next time. Watching the figures of the two people disappear completely. Yurihara Kazuki stretched out his hand and lowered the brim of his hat, chuckling twice with unknown meaning. Natsuki? Your sudden appearance can be said to have broken my plan for many years. But if handled properly, his talent is also a big help. It seems that the plan of the Kurosaki family needs to be redesigned. The other side on the streets of Karakura town. Natsuki and Rukia walked side by side. The former yawned sleepily, but the latter looked troubled. Natsuki, won't you ask me why I dragged you away in such a hurry? Seeing Natsuki like this, Rukia felt amused and annoyed. If it weren't for him, why should I leave the Yurihara store in such a hurry? In the Soul Society, it is a felony to transfer the power of Shinigami to humans at will. Although Rukia did not voluntarily pass on the power of Shinigami to Natsuki, Natsuki's ability to obtain the power of Shinigami is inseparable from her. It's okay if no one knows, but it was so unfortunate that Yurihara Kazuki happened to know about it. Rukia had an idea at the time and immediately took Natsuki away, which is why she hurriedly pulled away. If you want to tell me, just say so. Natsuki stopped, looked sideways at Rukia, and said seriously. Of course, if you have something to hide, it's okay if you don't say it. Since I have decided to help you, of course I trust you 100%. Rukia froze. Natsuki took advantage of the victory and asks again, will you do something wrong to me? Of course not, why do you ask this? Rukia was in a hurry, and was about to refute, but Natsuki immediately broke her head, and laughed at the same time. That's it, don't worry, I have everything. Rukia was silent. This short sentence gave her a strong sense of peace of mind. Different from Renji, and different from Big Brother Byakuya, a very different but enjoyable feeling. Quite a while Rukia looked up. Looking at Natsuki's confident appearance, the corner of his mouth raised. I need a place to recuperate. Don't worry, the apartment I live in is very big, I don't miss you. In that case, I'll leave it to you for the next period of time, Natsuki. Under the moonlight the two shadows were infinitely elongated. There is a distance between them, but the relationship between the two is quietly close. Next day dawn the warm sunlight shines into the room through the glass. Under the sunlight, Natsuki woke up, and his biological clock became familiar with the world through a month. It is worth mentioning that, because I am not used to the small environment. When Natsuki was renting, he chose a multi-bedroom apartment. So Rukia lived in without any pressure at all, and she could also recuperate her injuries with peace of mind, instead of sleeping in a closet like in the original book. After a simple wash, Natsuki saw that the other room was still. Recalling the injury Rukia suffered yesterday, he purposely reduced his movements. It wasn't until breakfast and lunch at school were ready that they came to the door of Rukia's room. Knock knock knock. Natsuki knocked on the door and shouted at the same time, Rukia, are you awake? Wake up and have breakfast. Wait a minute. Rukia's voice came from behind the door. But for some reason, her voice sounded a little strange. After a while, the door opened and Natsuki finally saw Rukia's appearance. Immediately burst into laughter. I saw Rukia wearing Natsuki's body skirt, but because of her height, Natsuki was wearing just the right body skirt, but it directly covered her knees. To know, Natsuki's height is nearly 1.85 meters. Compared with Rukia, who is 1.44 meters tall, she is 41 centimeters taller. What are you laughing at? Looking at Rukia again, a blush appeared on her face. His hands are tensely holding the hem of the skirt. If acquaintances see it, they may not be able to associate it with Rukia Kuchiki at all. Who made you so tall? Even your clothes are much bigger than mine. Feeling the playful look in Natsuki's eyes, Rukia couldn't help complaining. She didn't want to wear Natsuki's body shirt, but it was too late last night, and the convenience belt and the supermarket were basically off work. Have no choice, I can only borrow a pair of clean body kips from Natsuki. But she never expected that due to the height difference, this short skirt would be bigger than a nightgown. Facing Rukia's complaining gaze, Natsuki suppressed a smile and said, "Hold on, I'll take you to the supermarket for shopping after school in the afternoon, and buy a change of clothes and toiletries by the way." School? Rukia paid attention to something different. Natsuki nodded and explained, "I'm still a student, so I'm going to school naturally." Rukia fell into deep thought. Her mission was to purify the void of Karakura town. Now she was seriously injured and temporarily unable to perform the mission, so she could only seek help from Natsuki. But now Natsuki is going to school. If an attack happened while he was in school, wouldn't he be very passive? Rukia's eyes flickered, if you go to school with Natsuki yourself. In this way, after discovering Shu's trace, the two of them can rush to purify the target immediately. The more I think about it, the more feasible it becomes. Rukia slapped his chest and said seriously, "Natsuki, let me go to school with you, it will be more convenient." For Rukia to go to school, Natsuki has no reason to refuse, just think of her strange grammar in the anime, and specially remind. You go to school, just communicate with your classmates in a normal tone. Hearing this, Rukia was full of question marks. But before she could ask, Natsuki turned and left, leaving only one sentence. "Breakfast is ready. It's all blood-enriching ingredients prepared for you. Go wash up and go to school with me after breakfast." Natsuki. Looking at the back of the departure. Rukia's heart suddenly touched. Blood-nourishing ingredients. Since becoming a member of the Kuchiki family, it is natural that someone prepares a hearty breakfast every day. But a concern like this, but I don't know how long I haven't felt it. For a while, the corners of Rukia's mouth kept rising, and he whispered softly. "Natsuki, you guys are real, I hurt my soul, but this feeling seems to be good." After breakfast the two walked towards Karakura No. 1 high school together. I met many classmates along the way, and everyone greeted Natsuki one after another. To Rukia's surprise, many girls waited on Natsuki's way to school to talk to him. "Natsuki-san, good morning. Mr. Shu, here, this is the bento I prepared for you, please accept it." "Wait, there is still my bento, Natsuki-san, please take the bento I prepared for you." At first it was just a hello, but I don't know who suddenly handed over a bento. All of a sudden, these girls took out lunchboxes from their school bags. The farce continued until everyone arrived at the school gate and Natsuki was going to his class. Certainly, none of those lunchboxes were confiscated. "Hey, I didn't expect you to be so popular." After seeing everyone dispersed, Rukia poked Natsuki with her arm and started joking. "I can't help it, who made me handsome, and also represented the kendo club in winning the national competition half a month ago." Natsuki waved his hand with a helpless expression. The two looked at each other, PFF'd, they all laughed at the same time. Obviously it was the first time they met yesterday, but the tacit understanding between the two is extremely high. However, Rukia did not forget her purpose, let Natsuki lead the way to the principal's office, and then went in alone. About 5 minutes passed. She came out with a school uniform and brand new transfer procedures. "Shish, it's so convenient, it's done so quickly," Natsuki whistled. "Stop making trouble." Rukia rolled her eyes at Natsuki angrily. "I'll go to the locker room to change my school uniform, and I'll report to your homeroom teacher later." "Do you need me to lead the way?" Natsuki stopped joking and asked directly. "No, I've already memorized the route just now. You go to the classroom first, and I'll be there later." Rukia shook her head, although it is her first time to this school. But on the way to the principal's office, the route was already memorized. "Okay, then I'll go to the classroom first." Natsuki nodded and walked towards his classroom. But he didn't know that a new layout officially started the moment he left. 3 classes a year. This is Natsuki's class. Also the protagonist of Shinigami, Kurosaki Ichigo's class. Shua. Natsuki opened the door of the class, and the eyes of all the classmates were thrown over. "Morning, Natsuki, it's still so popular today. How can I repair it? It's really enviable. Keigo Asano's eyes lit up in the seat, and he leaned over directly, saying that he was envious, but a rippling smile appeared on his face. Haha, if you go to learn kendo, you might be popular with girls too. Natsuki didn't hit people, instead, I hope Keigo Asano can learn kendo. The more people in the kendo club, the greater the chance of losing attributes, so he would naturally not let go of any chance to recruit people into the kendo club. Natsuki, just leave me alone, it's not good for me to go home and play games. Hearing that he was invited to learn kendo, Keigo Asano immediately froze, clasped his hands together and begged for mercy. Puff. Ha ha ha. Keigo, you guys are too funny. The classmates in the class couldn't help laughing when they saw him like this. Natsuki smiled helplessly. In fact, he had invited Keigo Asano to join the kendo club before. Seeing that Natsuki is popular, this guy immediately expressed his willingness to join, but he was scared by the exaggerated amount of training on the first day of joining the kendo club, and never went to the kendo club again. Talking and laughing, Natsuki walked to his seat and sat down. As soon as he sat down, he saw a boy with an orange head in the seat on the right. He was yawning with a tired face. When he saw Natsuki walking by, he extended his hand to say hello. Natsuki, good morning, are you being attacked by your old man in the middle of the night again? Natsuki put down his shoulder bag, and replied with the opportunity. When he saw his troubled appearance, he showed a look of surprise. Travel through a month. Half of the time Ichigo looks like this. Every time he acts, it was his father's masterpiece. After a long time, Natsuki got used to it. Ah, that's right, that old man sneaked up on me every now and then, endlessly. Kurosaki Ichigo covered his face with his hands, looking hopeless. If it is possible, he didn't want to come to school every day in such a sleepy state. Well, this is how Ichigo's father expresses his love. Natsuki smirked and patted Ichigo's shoulder. This kind of love, I'd rather not. Ichigo glanced at his friend angrily, and complained in his mouth. Ho 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 ho. However, his complaint was just halfway out. A heavy roar sounded, directly interrupting his words. What is this sound? Kurosaki Ichigo was taken aback. For some reason, goosebumps appeared on his skin, as if an invisible threat was approaching him. But, the classmates in the class, everyone is busy with their own affairs. It was as if the sound that rang in his ears just now was just his illusion. But what Kurosaki Ichigo didn't see was, the expression of Natsuki, who was sitting next to him, changed slightly. A false voice? You can't go wrong. This is exactly the same as the voice made by Shu in the anime. At the same time, in his mind, suddenly Rukia appeared. Rukia said that she was going to change her school uniform, and then reported to the head teacher. But now nearly 10 minutes have passed. Should it be enough for her to change into her school uniform and find the head teacher? Only why worry, there is even a bad premonition in my heart. Ichigo, I feel sick to my stomach, go to the bathroom. Wow. Natsuki got up from his seat, met Kurosaki Ichigo's incomprehensible gaze, gave a simple explanation, and then pushed the door open and left. This is a crisp and neat movement. Instead, it allowed Kurosaki Ichigo to break free from the inexplicable tension he had been feeling earlier. Go to the bathroom? There's still half an hour of class, so I'll go too. Seeing Natsuki leaving, Ichigo followed. After leaving the classroom, Natsuki didn't go to the so-called bathroom. Instead, he ran straight to the place with the widest view, that is, the school roof, stood in front of the fence, and looked for the owner who had just heard the voice with his eyes. Pity. Ryotsu scanned all areas around the school but found nothing. Damn it, I just said why the voice of that Shu is so vague, it's not around the school. Natsuki frowned, his travel time is too short, and he is not proficient in using spiritual power. It can only achieve Ryotsu perception in a small area. If you are too far away from the target, you will have more than enough energy. Fortunately, the system sound suddenly sounded. Ding! A battle has been detected in the distance. There is a very high probability of dropping high-level attribute lights. Please host to consider whether to go to the battle scene. At the same time, a map comes to mind, shows the location where Natsuki fought with that. Natsuki's eyes suddenly lit up. There was a battle happening nearby, and there was a high probability that it was the one he had just heard the sound of. System, zoom in on the map location. The voice fell. Natsuki pressed against his chest. The soul instantly separated from the body. The Shiba costume, which represents the power of Shinigami, is put on the body in an instant. The original body fell to the ground weakly, and Natsuki helped it to lie flat on the ground. Immediately, jump over the fence without hesitation. But unexpectedly, this scene happened to be caught by Kurosaki Ichigo, who followed all the way. Natsuki. Ichigo turned pale. Panic ran to the fence and leaned over to look. But Natsuki landed on the playground unscathed, and then ran towards the outside of the school. The surrounding students seem to have not seen anything, and they are still doing their own things. What is this? Looking at the incomprehensible picture, Kurosaki Ichigo's pupils suddenly shrank. Roar! Shushu's voice echoed in my ears. Damn it, if the injury hasn't recovered yet. Rukia tightly hugged the girl in her arms, flashing on the top of many buildings. On the way to school with Natsuki, she took note of the nearby terrain and knew that there was a fairly empty park not far away. In order not to affect others, Rukia purposely guided Shu and herself to the park. In this way, when Natsuki arrives, he must be free to fight, right? Only feel the lack of physical strength. The corner of Rukia's mouth became slightly bitter. With my current situation, I don't know if I can last until Natsuki arrives. She was seriously injured, so she entered the corpse deliberately in order to recover from her injuries. Now that she is not in good condition, she has run out of energy after just a few minutes, and she is not sure if she can last until Natsuki arrives. Ahem. The girl in Rukia's arms suddenly coughed twice. You are? Arisawa Tatsuki opened his eyes blankly, only to find himself being held in the arms of a petite girl. You're awake. Rukia heard a voice in her arms. Knowing that the girl he just rescued has woken up, he specially reminded, wait a minute, I don't have time to explain to you now. I see. Arisawa Tatsuki nodded silently. She has already recalled what happened just now, and knows that this girl saved her. Previously, come to school as usual, but just when I was about to go to school, I suddenly felt that my body became extremely heavy. She thought it was just some physical discomfort, but suddenly she saw the ground in the distance began to collapse, and the appearance of the collapse was very strange. It's like a series of footprints, and through the direction of these footprints, it can be completely judged that they are walking towards themselves. But his body suddenly lost control, and he could only stand there blankly, waiting for the invisible existence to come to him. This thrilling feeling of not being able to control nature scared Arisawa Tatsuki to the point of numbness. Fortunately, just when the footprints were about to come to him, a figure wearing his school uniform suddenly appeared from the side, hugged him and fled from somewhere. The moment she was saved, she couldn't hold back and passed out. At the same time, looking at the square that is getting closer, a sense of relief finally appeared on Rukia's bitter face. Next, I just need to hold back the head and wait for Natsuki to come to purify it. I hope I can hold on for a while. Only, this suddenly relaxes, but Shu, who had been chasing after him, seized the opportunity. This scene was clearly seen by Arisawa Tatsuki, who saw the ground suddenly collapsed behind them in a trace of footprints. Be careful, that thing is coming, Arisawa Tatsuki reminded loudly. Catch up. Rukia reacted instantly, forcibly squeezing the little physical strength, trying to open the distance between the two. But it was too late, she didn't have much physical strength, even if she wanted to speed up, she couldn't increase the speed much. Ho 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 ho! A shadowy figure flashed behind Rukia. With a roar, his right arm slapped forward fiercely. And in Arisawa Tatsuki's line of sight, the air began to blur, as if something appeared behind him. At the same time, damn it, take a step slower. Rukia felt Ryotsu approaching infinitely, and her pupils contracted suddenly. However, the moment Shu was about to hit the two of them, suddenly, there was a sound of piercing through the air, and at the same time, a sharp sense of sharpness stabbed the skins of the two of them. See? A faint blue blade pierced the sky. It came suddenly with a sharp piercing sound. Whoosh! The speed of the sword energy is extremely fast. It was so fast that no one had time to react to its arrival. Only when the blue saber light slid across Shu's arm did everyone discover its existence. However, at this time, no one paid any attention to the blade glow, and instead looked at the place where the blade glow hit in the distance. That's Natsuki. Rukia's eyes widened suddenly, and he saw a figure in a deadly costume galloping towards the place where the sword light came.